Hello and welcome to this new video, and I'm going to do a sketchbook tour. Now I haven't actually decorated the front of my sketchbook. I couldn't tell you what type of sketchbook this is because I've had it for a long time. I think it might have been, oh here we go, it's a Sea White of Brighton. I thought that the sticker had come off it but it hasn't. So this is a sketchbook that I did while I was at university and that I was using basically as like a scrapbook and the sketchbook. So in it is a lot of lifty pages and things like that, and I was testing out inks and gesso. And I was learning at the time about all the different triple goddesses and goddess work and all things like that. So it's all quite spiritual and religious, and it was the idea that 3 is in a lot of things. So that's where the idea for it came from. So these pages are like full of all sorts of stuff, notes and pictures and things, you know, that I've found in books. So this part of it is more like a scrapbook, and this was so that I could make a deck of cards and also do a big end of year project. What happened was though, the tutors didn't like it and I had to change my project in the end. These are actually from the uni throws away all of the sketchbooks that get left behind. So if you've not collected them at the end of the year, they get thrown away in a skip, which was sacrilege. So I went and collected some. So some of these things have come out of somebody else's photography book and I've stuck them in because I really like the imagery. And lots of notes and things like that. Again, this is all inks and gesso. So this is a lady that I was looking at for my work, and then there's some other people that I was looking at for my work to influence me. And this has actually got some gold ink on it as well. I just really love that. These make really nice backgrounds now that I can use for other stuff. And then this was changing the project. So as I said, they didn't like my project, so this changed then into ancestry and about my ancestors. And they all worked in Lancashire, which is where I'm from and where I live, in the cotton factories. So it carried on about plants, which obviously I love, and about my ancestors as well, and cotton and how it all links together. And then it kind of morphed into something that I wasn't quite sure what it was going to be. So again, there's lots of nature, which always influences my work, and things like spiritual photography and artists combined. So it's more like I'd say like a brain dump of all sorts of different stuff. So here I'm going into the cotton and also into the cyanotypes. I did have more cyanotypes clipped in actually, but I've taken them out at some point and I think I must have put them somewhere, maybe in a frame or something, I don't know. And then I got into the cotton and the dyeing of the fabric and everything. Who are the old ancestors? She isn't one of my ancestors. She's beautiful though, isn't she? But I didn't have pictures of my ancestors, so this is what this was about. And then I was practicing. I'd watched a Jane Davenport tutorial online and I was just practicing faces because my idea was, could I introduce ancestors' faces into cotton somehow? I'm not very good at faces at all. So as you can see, I was practicing and I'm still not good at faces. And then I just went off doodling because that's what you do sometimes. This was all about the flowers and still about my ancestors and how flowers and the language of flowers have influenced people over time. Then I had to go at lino cutting and printing, which I loved. I absolutely loved it. It was just amazing. And then more about me and flowers and how it all links up about when I was a girl. This was getting more into scrapbook territory than an art journal, and I had to pull it back. Oh, there's one of my cyanotypes of a dandelion. That was just about dying plants. So there's all questions that I was asking. How are we all connected? Do the threads that run through us connect us to nature or nurture? Am I like my ancestors? And if I am, how? And then this again carried on into where I was going. So my whole practice goes off on tangents all the time, from one thing to another, and if I find any artists that I really like, I always put them in. So this is more about me. There's me when I was a little girl, and yeah, about the things that I'd done and how I was going and how I was going to use dried flowers in my work to influence my work. And then I found a picture of some of my ancestors. These are my ancestors from Alabama, which I didn't even know existed until I started this project. I'm just going to put a light on that because it's starting to get a bit dark. It was beautiful before, it was like bright sunshine. So this is my great uncle James on my mum's side, and funnily enough I called my eldest son James, but I didn't have a clue who this guy was. And then this lady Maud Bardolph, she was Princess Diana's 16th great grandma, and she was my 16th great grandma as well, which is funny. I'm not related to Princess Diana in any way, shape or form, apart from through this lady, but then I think it's through a marriage, so it's not like a blood relative or anything. And my 16th great uncle was Sir Richard, and he was the chief prosecution witness at the trial of Sir Thomas More in 1533. And I had some people in my family that back in the day, they were like rebels and stuff. It was really funny, and I found loads of documents and things of my ancestors and statues and stuff like this. It was, yeah, really good to dig into it. Really lovely. Then this is a book, a page out of a book called Magpie in the Wardrobe, and it's a beautiful book, and I really like the way that Sam, the lady that's done it, did the typing with the pictures and everything, and you can see how now in my zine making years later how it's come back to what I was inspired by. And I made some hand pressed flower, and this is fabric. I printed on fabric. This page isn't, but I mean the photograph that I took was. So I made handmade paper, and this was a beautiful thing to do. Oh my god, I loved it. I loved getting my hands all squishy in the mixture. It felt just really nice. And I used beetroot powder and beetroot pieces in the blender to make it pink. And as you can see, it was pink in the mix, but when it came out as the paper, it's not pink at all, which was really interesting. And you can see that when I'd done it here, that the roses in it, they were all pink, but over time they've just dropped off. But it was good to play. And then I had to go with a flower press, which I still use now, made some clay pendants, and then I started dyeing cotton with soya milk to make it as a mordant. So this lady Rebecca off Instagram is amazing. She does all plant dyeing. So I got one of her books, I bought one of her books and started learning the technique. And these are all different ones. So that was soya, beetroot, mustard, red bush tea, beetroot, red bush at different times and stuff. There was 2 more here. I think I took them out to sew them onto a pinafore dress. And then silver birch bark, which is just adorable, and these pages are not finished, and fern. So yeah, then I've got some ideas, and so that's the end of my book, but I haven't finished them. So that's one of my art journals, which is more like a scrapbook. So these are huge sketchbooks, and this is a piece that I did to inspire me, and I sewed on it and everything. And interestingly, I've just finished the book The Signature of All Things, and this perfectly shows that book, weirdly, even though I did that years ago. This was looking at different images that you photocopied, and then you did the pictures, the line drawing from each photocopy. This was taking that same, so those same images, which is why it's loose, taking those same images, and this was the original picture of it, and then using them in a way to take out sections of it so you can make your own pictures in it. I always find that I want to fill in empty space. I hate having empty space on work. Not quite sure why. This was it further on, taking it even more abstract and using just different shades of black and blue. This is a guy called Gerhard Richter, and he only used monochrome and grey. I didn't like his work at all. I don't like that dark kind of work, but I had a go and I was seeing what happened with it, but it wouldn't be something that I'd go back to. However, I did like this. So this is Charcoal Study, and it's incorporating images that I've ripped out and photocopied, and then you carry on the picture yourself. And I actually did like this. I don't like the feel of charcoal, but I did like doing this, and I did make a really nice painting with this that as inspiration. This is Harmony Low Key, so I don't know if you can see, it's all black but with hints of red and green and blue, trying to get the colours from just blacks. And then there's the white one, and I do prefer the white one with all the hints, and that is inspired by the Impressionists, that one, so I would prefer light, but I do love colour, as you know. So then this was the counter change and harmony from the blank spaces into the dark spaces and optical illusions. Then I did a lot of line drawing and visual mapping. So basically you look at something and you don't look at your paper and you just draw it, and that's what happens. Quite interesting really, a bit messy but interesting. Some more visual mapping of still life. You can kind of see that, can't you, as it's doing. And then these were dry brush techniques, and I really did like this effect. So I used a paper towel on this one, and this one was crinkled, so I crinkled all the paper and then used a dry brush on it. Really like that. Then I started a picture which was just dry brushing. I didn't like it, so I didn't carry on with it. And then I did a mind map for different themes that I could do. As you can see, it's all over the place. And then these are just practicing and drawings and doodlings and experimenting with new paintbrushes that I'd got, and Ecoline brush watercolour mark maker brushes. As I said, I'm rubbish at faces. I'd really love to be good at faces, but I'm not. And then is the beautiful Tasha Tudor. Now, if you've never come across Tasha Tudor, please go and look her up, because I'm just in love with her. She's beautiful. She was an author and illustrator of children's books, and she lived a really, just an amazing life with animals and in nature and stuff. So I love her, and I ended up doing a massive painting of her, of this one, but then I painted over it afterwards. And then I was going back to that work that I'd done before, where you rip out a piece of your magazine and then you extend it. I really like that, and I might actually do something about that in my seaweed project that I'm going to do. And this is why I think sketchbooks are so invaluable. Some of them can be years old, but you go back in them and you go, oh yeah, I really like that bit of it, and then I can take that into what I'm doing. And then I was doing things about angels, which was just, again, just off on a tangent. And then going back to Tasha Tudor in the seasons, and this idea of the plants and the crones and everything like that. And you can see it's a real reoccurring theme in my work now when I'm making the zines and everything. And just lovely ladies doing amazing things. And this lady is Juliet of the... Oh, I can't remember her name. Juliet of the hedge, Juliet of the forest, Juliet of the herbs, maybe. So yeah, I love this page. It's one of my favourite pages. And if you are one of my zine collectors, you will have noticed that I've used these as backgrounds in some of my zine pages. Then I did a study about it. There was a nest that I'd made. I'd created it myself. And I'd done this study about nature, and it was taking elements of this image off the photocopier into small sections to see which could become then a bigger picture. And this is what it interpreted into. And then that was the black and white one of it, and then this is what it interpreted into using watercolours. And this was small sections of it. Again, I really, even though this is black and white and I don't really like black and white, I really love the physicality of this into a picture. So I'm definitely going to try that. Then I was practicing again some more. Again, it's a rubbish face. And then going back to that original picture that I just showed you, I was asking myself questions again. What is it? What is this? There's this thing that runs through all my work of, I don't think it's cohesive, but actually the theme that runs through it is nature, through everything that I do. And the more that I've worked, it's women and nature and creativity. So I was figuring it out. And this is what's great about your sketchbook. You can figure things out. It's not an end of piece thing, you know, that you've got to show unless you wanted to. So then I moved on to this image. And I'd taken out some of the colour on the computer in it to make out different parts to stand out, and then I started doing some drawings from this, and you'll see I've done a huge selection of drawings and paintings from this same thing in a bit, you'll see. So this is, I went to America to do some work, and this is a guy called Garrett. And he was working with me in America. He's an artist, and he's in Red Hook in New York, and his studio's in Hotwood Arts. And Garrett had done these pieces where he'd used paper towels and everything like that to do these images behind perspex, and I really liked it. So when I got back home, I tried it myself with paper towels to see what marks would come out. And I do actually really like the marks that it made. So as I was saying with that image, this one, I ended up doing a series of paintings from that same image. So I was taking different elements of it and doing it in different colourways to see what it looked like. Pink's a firm favourite of mine. And on that original image, you could see, well, I could see the word joy. The way that the bucket is and the egg and the twig, it looked like it was the word joy. So then I started using the word joy in my work, but in a way that you wouldn't necessarily notice it at first. And then a blue section, which I really liked, and I was really trying my best to leave some blank space. Still feels weird to me that there's blank space. And then this is another one that I did of that same, exactly the same image again, but in different ways. And these were watercolour pens that were really easy to use. And then I started breaking it up into just one or two bold sections, as you can see. And then I used the bold sections, just these bits, and made a large painting with those bits. These are just samples of colours that I really liked. And then this went on to, excuse me, I'm going to cough. This went on to the next section of the year, because this was at uni as well. And this was a completely different project, and it was all textures and stuff like that. And I didn't really like it, as you can see, lots of pieces have fallen out, and I didn't really do very much with it. so I'll just go through that quite quickly because it was quite boring to me and not really the thing that I wanted to do. And I'm a little bit of a rebel when it comes to things I don't want to do, but I did enjoy this. Now I really enjoyed this. So this is called sequencing in drawing. So you make a big image and you cut out different pieces of the image once you've done it into little sections, and these make standalone pieces of work. So then you could take this and recreate that onto a massive canvas. This was a joint piece that I did with another student, so we had to pair up and do joint pieces. It's just experimental really. And then my beloved moss and ferns, and I'm back to my happy space. And this is what all my sketchbooks would look like if I wasn't working things out all the time. And then some land art that I created. So there's a great land artist called Andrew Goldworthy, and I went outside and I collected things, and there was a big a cable reel thing, the reely bit without the cable on it. So I made this piece of land art and I was really pleased with it. And then more images of nature, which made me go from this into this project, which was how microworlds overcome human construct. So if you look around, look down, look up, look everywhere, there's these tiny little microworlds happening. And this is when my love of moss began. And also the sea, there's like microworlds in the sea as well, like in man-made construction. And that turned into this whole massive project that I did, and I made a book for, and I might show you the book another day. Then this was just practicing oil painting. I really actually liked it. And that's it. And I hope you enjoyed looking at my sketchbooks. And if you've got any questions, ask them below. This is my current sketchbook. And this is one where I just write notes in. And it's one that I don't have to be precious in. So this was an end of year thing that I was doing. It's not very interesting. Trying to find my purpose. I'm always trying to develop myself and figure out what am I actually doing in my life and my work. Where do I actually want to go and stuff like that. So yeah, all that kind of stuff. So this is me working out my brain in my sketchbook. So there's a lot of writing in this. So it's more like a diary really about things. But then I started exploring mark making. So this book is just for 15-minute sketches really, and 15-minute plays. So I was trying to figure out mark making and colours and things like this on these pages using tarot cards. And then this was a mixed media piece that I did for a tutorial, which was just playing. This was a jelly plate print that I used, and there's black paint and stencils and gesso, which makes you can make really nice marks in it on this. And there was acrylic and ink tints pastels as well for this piece. And then this piece was all about me and what I wanted to bring into the year. Not this year, this was a different year, because I delve back in and out this book. It's like my book of figuring out my life at any particular time. So it's not a constant book that I use. I just do it when I feel like I need to figure stuff out. So my biggest thing is consistency, being consistent in things. And actually, since I've done this, I realise that I don't really need to be consistent in everything. And there is a thread of consistency that already runs through my work anyway. But I'm multi-passionate, and that can lead me on a tangent to all sorts of things. So this was meant to be me. As I said earlier, I'm not that good at faces. and then asking myself questions. And then I got a new set of pencils. These are metallic, I don't know if you can see it, metallic pencils that I was trying the colours out. Back to algae again and plankton. And then this is me when I was a little girl in my garden. So I was trying to think of a time, when was I the happiest in my whole life? And it was when I was in my garden as a little girl. So I had a cat called Ginger. We had hedgehogs that lived under the shed. And my dad had built this lean-to shed thing. And my mum had covered it in honeysuckle. And what else did she put on there? Russian vine and honeysuckle. And inside, I got like old furniture and stuff like that, and I had like an outdoor kitchen before they became a thing. You know, I mean, this is in the 70s. So I had this outdoor kitchen, and I made potions, and I picked flowers, and this is me with a feather, obsessed with collecting things. And the birds used to nest in it, and I loved it so much. It was so lovely. And this is a time when I was happiest, and I really try and tap into this as much as I possibly can now in my adult life. And I really can't wait for a forever home and a forever garden, because I'm going to recreate the outside bit for when I was a girl, and I'm going to go in it and I'm going to make potions, but this time I'll know what I'm actually doing. I won't be just winging it. So that was really lovely to delve into that. This is just a quick sketch of some paintbrushes and stuff. And then these was a quick sketch. I went on a walk and I saw a blackbird, a sycamore fern and a vole. I couldn't decide what he was, and then I started looking him up on the internet and I figured out he was actually a vole. So that's just some sketches from my walk. Then this was just something I really feel like I just need to get stuff on paper. Like I just really need to get colour and stuff on paper. So this was just what was coming out of my head whoops, I just knocked my pencils and paintbrushes off. What coming out of my head at the time. This is a jelly plate print of a sycamore leaf. I really want to go back to jelly plate printing because it's so much fun and you can get so many different designs and stuff from it. But it's messy and you've got to have a lot of space, and at the minute I don't have a studio, I'm working from home, so I haven't done any, but I really want to. This was a meditation I had that way. This is a meditation I had. It's a really quite profound meditation actually. So I was meditating, and in my meditation I went into the middle of the earth, and at the middle of the earth there was this core, and it was like a crystal, and the light from above me was drawing me to come back out of it, but there was this dark sludgy oily thing pulling me down. That's what it felt like, pulling me down. So these are all representing my roots that come out from my feet when I'm meditating, and it was like I was half in and half out, and it was pulling me, and it showed me this really profound thing about crystals. And I'm as obsessed with crystals, well, I was obsessed with crystals as much as the next person, but what I realised during this meditation is if we start taking all these crystals out of the earth, like it's become so popular now, everybody's doing it, and there's really bad practices of doing it as well. There are apparently good practices, but I've not come across that yet. But there's loads of bad practices where they're just blowing up the earth to get crystals for sale, and it all comes down to greed and all that stuff again, which we're not going to go into because this is about sketchbooks. But if we're taking this layer of crystals out of the earth, there's no protection between us and the stuff that's in the bottom of the earth. This is what the meditation was. I'm not saying this is factual, this is just what the meditation was showing me, and it was showing me that the crystals need putting back in the earth, and that we shouldn't be taking them out just to put on a shelf somewhere and gaze at them. So this was quite profound really. It moved me quite a lot, that meditation, doing that. And then this one is, I went to the park and I was sat by the pond in the park, and I could hear all different things, and I thought what if I could mark make or colour code the things that I could hear? So I could hear the water moving, and then in the distance I could hear this like hum of traffic, and it felt like it was not just like a it was like this hum getting louder and quieter. And I was thinking of what colours would that be. And then there was the ducks that kept making a noise every now and again, so this is what these are. And there was birds in the tree, and every now and again it was like a kind of noise, and that's what it felt like it was invading me in a way. And I can't remember what this was. This was something as well, these yellow, but they were a sound that came up and stopped, which is why they're in this shape. I can't remember what they were, but I thought that'd make a really interesting body of work as well. I haven't actually pursued that at the minute. Then just experimenting, just doodling and everything, and then a little birdie and just some nasturtiums that I was doodling. This is another meditation, so this represents me, and this is my womb space, and it's all connected to nature. And these were my ovaries and my brain that was sprinkling out stuff to the world, and obviously my heart space. And then these represented my 3 children, so I've got 3 alive children. And then I had a termination when I was younger, and that was twins, so that represents that. And I had a miscarriage as well. So, and this just came out of a meditation. What I often do is I have a meditation, and then I feel the need to recreate it somehow. This was another meditation, and this was about being an earth witch. So all the connection again with the roots and everything that goes on in the world and in nature. And that's where we're up to. So every now and again I go into that, and I really like filling it in.